So, I have come to a realization recently that there's a lot of these a lot of these what people call reality talk shows, or I guess just talk shows. Is that what people call them? Talk shows. Not so much the concept of them, but how many of them there are, and how many of them are exactly the same thing. It only came to a realization to me about this just recently, okay? Because you take a look at all of these different shows that have talk shows. All these people that have talk shows. Some of them, like Ellen, who started off doing talk shows. I don't even know how she got popular. Oprah Winfrey. Even these are older examples. You think the newer ones, Steve Harvey, the Drew Barrymore show. What? And then like some other people that I can't even remember off the top of my head. Dr. Oz got one. We'll get to Dr. Oz in a minute because he's a prime example of this flaw. Dr. Phil, I guess you could put on this, but I'll exclude Dr. Phil from this because Dr. Phil and like the Maury Show, those are at least entertaining and those are at least funny and those are at least for a different purpose other than fucking just bringing on celebrities for them to promote their fucking shitty ass reality movies. And then you even talk about like the late night ones are the same thing. Jimmy Fallon, Steve Colbert, James Corden, who's thankfully leaving, or has already left by the time this goes up. I can't even think of any others. They're all the same show. What is this? I mean, let's begin. Let's talk about the premise that all these shows have, okay? There's some that air early in the morning, like Live with Kelly and Michael, or Live with Kelly and Ryan, or like the fifth accomplice to Kelly Ripa. You ever see everything? You ever see like a trend here? Okay, Regis leaves, and then we get Michael, and then we just get her by herself because they couldn't find anybody to sit with her for 30 minutes while she rambles on about random rich New York stuff. And then they bring in Ryan Seacrest to sit next to her. I think he's gone now too. Or is he? I don't know. Ever see a common trend that everybody leaves but Kelly Ripa doesn't? Maybe Kelly Ripa is the reason why everybody's leaving. You ever thought about that? And then there's like the ones in the middle of the day at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when everybody else should be, when everybody's at fucking work. So the only places people even watch these shows are at work in the break room when they should be working, or when they're sitting their ass at home unemployed, or in like a doctor's office, or like at a dentist appointment or something like that. It just kind of sits in the background as background noise or as something just to put on the TV so that they're not rendered useless while they're just sitting there eating up budget money. And then also the ones at night are the exact same thing when people are sitting on the couch after watching a sporting event or after a party or during a party at some places or just can't sleep. They'll turn on a show and then they'll immediately fall asleep to that because it's all boring as hell. All they do, the premise of every single one of these shows, okay, it's exactly the same. They start the show off by doing a little comedy bit or whatever for the most part. I mean, like Drew Barrymore, she doesn't do comedy because she's not funny. Some others don't do comedy, but like Kelly does comedy and fucking Jimmy Fallon does comedy. The only good part about Jimmy Fallon's comedy, by the way, is the thank you notes. I love the thank you notes. Those are funny. I'm going to exclude those from this rant. But the other ones, good lord. They talk about this random stuff that they see online. They talk about news stuff, okay? They'll do that for about 10 minutes. Then they'll break and go to commercial. Then they'll come back. And what do? They bring on celebrities. That's exactly all they do. They bring on washed up movie stars. They bring up actors who are getting into movies that nobody's heard of. They'll bring on brand new singers that nobody's heard of, and maybe they'll perform live. So then that way people don't realize how bad their music is. Most of these singers nowadays, they have a great tool that makes them good singers, and that's called auto-tune. But when you perform live, you can't use auto-tune. So what happens? People realize that many of them are not good singers. Some of them are. Some of them are good singers without auto-tune. And those go relatively unnoticed, which is sad to see. But many of the ones who do get famous are because they already were rich to begin with, and they're paying for auto-tune. That's what it is. And then they get exposed, and it's kind of funny. Or they'll go out doing like a special challenge on the street. Or whatever, or they'll do like a special challenge in the studio where they gotta try something funky, or they'll like cook something, or whatever, or they'll go out in the street and interview random people as they're trying to walk to work in the morning. That's fun. I'll get stopped by cameras while I'm searching up on my phone, what's the bank statement for today, and then people can just look at my fucking bank information because like a camera's looming over my ass as I'm walking down the street, or whatnot. I mean, And if it was only a couple of shows, if there's only like a couple of these kind of shows out there, like maybe one in the morning, one in the middle of the day, one at night, it would be fine. It could be tolerable because you know what? The material would be, because everything would be centralized and it would be more fresh. And they would have more wide range of stuff to do, and more people will be watching, and I bet they would open up new ideas for other stuff. But because there's like 60 million of them, how many celebrities have a talk show? How many became celebrities because they started a talk show? How do you start a talk show and become a celebrity? Makes no sense. It makes no sense. Because most of the time, all the stuff that they do original is just stupid little things that the producers write up. That's even half the show. You're lucky if that's half the show. And the other half is going to be bringing on celebrities, let them do the work, or bringing on professional chefs, letting them do the work, or getting people off the fucking street or people out of the audience to do the work for them. And let's get to the audience for a second. The audience here, we know the audience here, okay? It's people who don't have a job. Or people who are looking for health benefits, because that's what Dr. Oz is. He basically tells you, you're fat, here's how to lose weight, you gotta give up everything that you love to burn like 2 pounds off over 2 years. Here you go. And then you're like, woo, it's so great, it's so great, yeah, woo. And look at the audience, alright? They're so fake when they're doing this clapping. They're like, woo, yeah, woo, look at this guy, he's doing so good, woo, yeah, we're raving about this random white dude that we found off the street, woo. He's so fake. These shows are all fake. They really have nothing better to put on TV. They can't do like reruns of old TV shows or like reshowings of good movies from the past or like sporting events or like real original content. I mean, that get people to watch. And if you're going to do this kind of stuff, maybe bring it onto like a streaming platform or like YouTube, or I guess that's kind of a streaming platform, but I don't know. It really baffles me how successful this medium can be, especially with the time with YouTube, especially with the time with like podcasts and interviews and that kind of stuff. How these random ass talk shows, seemingly nobody watches, do so popular. I can't put my head around it. Maybe the doctors in the audience can put my head around it, because that's how they're making their royalties from these fake ads.